Committee of the whole meeting for Wednesday, June 11th. We are reconvening at 7:13 p.m. We are now on to item 4, public comments. Jonathan, are there members of the public who wish to speak on any agenda items tonight?
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Nobody is registered to speak tonight.
Okay.
However, if someone's here that would like to speak, this might.
Sure. If anyone in the gallery, our hugely crowded gallery, would wish to speak on an item tonight on the agenda, please let us know and you can come to the microphone. We also have delegations tonight that we're going to be dealing with, but if there are no public comments separate to the delegations, I'll carry on. We move now to item 5, delegations. 5.1, the Happy Gang. And I was fortunate enough to be invited and was able to attend your 50th anniversary celebration along with MLA DeYoung. So thank you for inviting me. I apologize, I was a bit late. I got a little bit hung up and then I had to run, so my apologies for being late. I also wanted to let you know that we have a presentation for your group, but that I thought it would be best if, it would have been nice to present it to you in front of your whole group, but we wanted to kind of make it a little more official and present it to you in council chambers on a council night. So if you folks, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you folks would like to say a few words about the Happy Gang and your history and how things have been, then we can carry on with our portion of it as well. And if you folks are okay with it, we'd love to have a group photo with all of council and you getting the Good evening, and if you wouldn't mind just saying your name for the folks at home.
Usually I'm very loud. My name is Yvonne Rise, and I'm the Vice President of the Happy Gang of Strathmore. But before I start, I would like to introduce our President, Vern McCutcheon, and our Treasurer, Susan Humble, who has joined me today. What I'd like to do is take a few minutes. I'd like to give you a bit of the history of the Happy Gang and also how we contribute to Strathmore community and the surrounding areas. If you don't mind, I'm just going to read from my notes. The following is a chronology history of the Strathmore Happy Gang. On February 6 of 1967, an organizational meeting was held at the United Church. It was agreed that the meetings would be held every 2 weeks at different homes for cards and socializing. The fee was $1 per year. The United Church later donated their hall for the use at no charge. In '69, the Strathmore Royal Canadian Legion gave us a room at no charge. Going on to November 1970, the Happy Gang pursued getting a charter and registered with the province as a society. In the early years, and still by some, were known as the Happy Gang 50+ Society of Strathmore. In '74, we had grown to, coincidentally, 74 members. 1975, November 13th, we became incorporated as the Happy Gang Society of Strathmore, Alberta, thus our 50th anniversary, which we thank you very much for attending, Mayor Fuel. 1976, fees were raised to $2 per year for membership, and we were growing, and more activities were being added. The members started applying for grants, looking towards getting the use of a clubhouse to meet and have recreation and encourage more members from our seniors community. 1980, 27 members had donated between $25 to $1,000 each to match grants. A steering committee was formed and the town built a community hall and library with a club room on the south side of the building to house the Happy Gang. In '82, with the money raised by grants, donations, and pledges, the club furnished the hall with a fridge, stove, tables, chairs. We put carpeting in, pool tables, shuffleboards, and a piano. In '86, the club had grown to 96 members, and we were charging $12 per year to be a member, and the hall was now then open, for 5 days a week from 1 to 5 p.m. In '87, the town was approached about adding on to the current club facility because we were outgrowing our space. A short time later, we received a letter of approval from the town dated September 10th, which was sent mentioning an outright gift of land or through donation back of purchase price we would receive a piece of land at no charge. The addition was then built by the Happy Gang Club funds, grants, and membership donations to the tune of $104,000, which was from us. And I believe the value of the land that the town gave us was, I think, $66,000. The club turned the facility over to the town with the agreement that the town would lease to the club going forward for $1 per year plus a percentage of the utilities and building insurance. In 2013, the club wanted to remove the carpet and put new flooring and purchase a new flat screen TV, which would help with the exercise classes that were being held in the main hall. This was all paid for by club funds and a grant that was applied for. We also hosted the senior games about that time, and we were awarded a grant in the way of a thank you, which was used for capital expenditures. We purchased a commercial dishwasher, new fridge, had new cabinets installed to store items for the exercise groups. In 2016-2017, the town decided it was time to expand the library and move the FCSS offices. The large renovation took place with the new entrance to the Happy Gang and washroom facilities. We were given space again at the Legion during the reno, for which we gave a donation for their generosity. About this time, the membership was raised to $25 for a member. 2022, with the complexities of COVID, it affected the attendance and the membership, making funds and activities difficult. Memberships were raised to $35 a year and a fee of $5 for drop-ins, non-members. 22 to 23, we replaced the blinds, which were badly needed. 23 to 24, August 23, we applied for a grant. Both the original hall and the pool room walls and cabinets badly needed painting, and some new chairs and tables were needing. The appearance of our facilities had become old and worn. February 24 to 25, we received funds from the grant that was applied for. We had to match the funds that we were granted by club monies and/or value of volunteer participation and donation. The project's costs were approximately $12,284. The grant we received was for only $5,497, leaving approximately $6,780 to be paid for by the Happy Gang. Not included in the grant, we replaced the countertops. The Formica was lifting and chipping. We received a donation from the Lions for $2,000, and we matched with $2,000 to pay for the countertops. Earlier this year, Remuda donated the extra tables that we needed. During the last 2 to 3 years, our membership has grown to more than 200. At this point, we are at 220 people, and we're still growing. We offer our Strathmore and area seniors a place to socialize, participate, and meet new people, adding to their well-being both emotionally and physically. We offer 14 different activities, some of which are repeated 2 and 3 times a week, not including potlucks, yearly barbecue, Christmas party, Christmas tea and bake sale, strawberry tea, and we try and have 2 dinner show trips a year, as well as the bake and garage sales. To promote wellness for our seniors, we have become an important integrated part of the town of Strathmore. The Strathmore Happy Gang would like to have a closer relationship with the town, be included in talks related to seniors, and keep more directly informed. Over the years, we feel that there has become a disconnect with the town of Strathmore officials, creating at times misunderstanding and not realizing our importance or our contributions. In closing, we would hope our history has given you a better idea of who we are and how we contribute to the community. 31% of Strathmore seniors, or Strathmore citizens, are seniors, and that number is growing. We have heard of a new library to be built with an upgrade to the Westmount School. Please keep a place for us in mind as decisions are being made and keep us informed. What you decide with the current building and the new one causes some concern for the members. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to share our history and our commitment to the seniors of Strathmore and the surrounding area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the history on the Happy Gang. And one of the things that stands out to me, both when I came to your celebration and now when you said the history tonight, is that there's been a long connection between the town and the Happy Gang, especially in that facility. I learned a lot in both presentations as far as how that site came to be, that space came to be. And a lot of people may not know this, but each council term, each council comes up with a strategic plan. And we have 6 items in our strategic plan, 2 of which tie really well into the Happy Gang and the seniors who go there. And they are intentional community development. And it talks about how Strathmore wants to create communities for its residents and with its neighbors, Siksika Nation and Wheatland County, and institutional partners which promote sustainable and interdependent family-friendly spaces. So we want to create a situation where there's connections within our community. And then the second strategic item that fits really well with the Happy Gang is community wellness. And you mentioned wellness in your history report. And the little blurb about community wellness for our strategic plan says, Strathmore values community wellness focused on the maintenance, protection, and improvement of services that support optimum lifestyles. If any of council could have, some of us have jobs and aren't able to attend, but if the council could have seen the number of people at that 50th anniversary celebration, I had to kind of bow out of the line dance because I didn't think anyone needed to see that. But I really appreciate the history. I appreciate what the Happy Gang has done, the numbers of people who come to your place, but not only that, go on outings through the Happy Gang, can do nothing but improve community wellness and partnerships. So don't be too worried about that facility yet. Everything's still okay. You still have that place there, and we do have a history of a partnership between the town and the Happy Gang. And I congratulate you on behalf of the council. Other councillors may want to say a few words too, but I congratulate you on your 50th anniversary and the success in increasing your numbers who are coming to your facility, who are sharing in community spirit and getting to know each other. And it just helps with the mental health, the social health of your members, and it just contributes to the wellness of our town's residents, especially that population that you mentioned, the 31% right now who are seniors. So congratulations on 50th. We'll give you thank you, Councillor Wiley. And I don't want to step on any toes. If any other councillor would like to say a few words, feel free. And then, unfortunately for you, you have to have a photo with me in it. That's a problem, but okay. Any other comments from councillors? Okay. Sorry, Councillor Peterson, and then Councillor Montgomery, and then Councillor Peterson.
So I'm just wondering if any of you were around back when the Happy Gang started, actually. Were you guys residents of town? Yeah, well, I was going to say, did you ever imagine that you would end up in the Happy Gang? But But yeah, thank you very much for your presentation and for educating us.
As much as Mayor Fuel would say he was sure I was around long before that, I was not here. But I just see so many opportunities with the strength that you've built, especially in the last 5 years, opportunities for partnership and lobbying for the needs of seniors and community, whether there are other groups in town that are very interested in establishing opportunities to enhance the downtown area, particularly to make it more senior-friendly, and looking for input from your group, to have, signs for, on the pathways that are directive and places to take lunch, rest, use the bathroom. All of those, having that directionality in the downtown is something that people are really looking to do, and create also a dementia-friendly community. There's a group of very, very young and vibrant individuals that are very interested in pursuing that as well. And I just see with your numbers and your enthusiasm, being able to add your voice to that will really make a difference in the community. And I really appreciate what you've done and how you've built, especially most recently. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Peterson and Councillor Montgomery. So if there are no other comments, I'd like to invite you to the front here, and our council will join you, and we have a presentation and some photographs to be taken. Okay, thank you, and congratulations again to the Happy Gang. And at this time, we move now to item 5.2, Christ the Redeemer Catholic Schools. And if you wouldn't mind, I know you and I have known each other for many years, but if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves so that the people at home know who you are, and we look forward to your presentation.
So I'm Harry Somm. I'm the trustee for Christ the Redeemer Catholic Schools, and this is Dr. Andrea Holoka, our superintendent.
Welcome.
So I think you've got our presentation right here. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of background, a little bit of about our school division and our schools. So we have existed in Strathmore. This will be our 25th year, or our 25th anniversary in September of the opening of Sacred Heart Academy. We represent 7 communities from the from the BC border to the Saskatchewan border. We have schools in Canmore, Okotoks, High River, actually Foothills County, Strathmore, Drumheller, Brooks, and Oyen. So we have over 10,000 students in total. And we have, I think, about 700 roughly in Strathmore between our 2 schools. Actually, I'll let you take on from here.
All right, well, sorry, we're just tag teaming it a little bit here, just making sure the, I don't know if it's moving. That would,
Point it towards here, maybe.
not sure. Oh, it's moving now, okay. Okay, just a little bit more information about ourselves. Certainly we do provide quite a bit of programming across our school division as well. But within our two schools that are in our Strathmore area, we do provide fairly traditional programming, but we certainly do have that emphasis on our Catholic faith-filled permeated environment. I'm not sure if I can still advance it. It seems to be a bit sticky. Okay. Thank you very much. So what I can share with you is just an overview of our assurance data. So as you're probably aware, the provincial government holds all of schools across Alberta accountable to assurance measures. And so as a school division, we really take a lot of care in reviewing and looking at how we're doing both as in compared to ourselves, but certainly across the province as well. So this is just a bit of a representation of our school division in terms of how we are doing compared to the provincial averages. And what I can show you here, and then I'll soon get into more detail about the results within our Strathmore schools, is that we're above the province in all of the required assurance measures that are there. Some of this is in terms of survey data. So this would be the surveying that happens within our schools, our teachers, our students, and our parents. And all of those are demonstrating that there's a lot of assurance of satisfaction and high satisfaction across our schools and our communities. And then on the bottom there, you can see those are some of the required measures of student achievement. So provincial achievement test scores, diploma scores, high school graduation rates. Those ones are also very, very strong and well above provincial in all categories. So this is who we are. So I know there's a lot of programs and opportunities that really can come to fruition across schools, but academic strength that is embedded within our mantra of Catholic education, and really doing so with that spirit of well-being for our students, which I know is something that you had mentioned earlier as a cornerstone of Strathmore, is really who we are and what we're all about. There we go. So this is our division priorities. So again, it really reflects how we resource all the work that we do, how we work with our teachers, what our expectations are for them in front of the classroom with their students, and that is a faith-filled, permeated Catholic environment. It's interesting to note too that we have many, many families who are non-Catholic choosing Catholic education, particularly in Strathmore. And we believe, and they tell us that they choose it because they appreciate not only the strong academics and the care that we give to the students, but because they want to expose their children to faith-based education, and they know that they will get that authentically within our schools. And in fact, it brings many of our families back into the church and becoming part of that home school parish connection. On the right-hand side is just really talking about how this is lived out through our education plan. So this is something that we're required within Public School Authority to create every year, and every school does as well. And you can see this is how our different priorities come alive and are planned for. So again, that real permeated faith experience where we are really ensuring that our parents feel that they are the primary educators of children, and that they do have a connection to the schools, the church, and through home as well. Academic excellence, obviously that's evident in our data, but we really take care and just really being able to witness that amongst our teachers. Our kids are known and loved by all of our teachers, and that shows in the results that they have. And then lastly, healthy schools. That's a term we use that's really holistic for all types of dimensions of well-being, spiritual well-being, social, academic, physical, all of those pieces. And we do put a lot of supports into our schools to ensure that all of our schools have a social worker, all of our schools have a learning support teacher. There's a lot of care and attention taken to make sure that students are not falling through the cracks so that there's interventions provided for them. So this is just a summary of our schools, and Harry already spoke to the size of our schools. We do have Drumheller, and we will mention that. It's definitely not something that has to do with your reason for being as the Strathmore town council, but certainly because it does creep into Wheatland County area, it is adjacent, and we certainly do service the same students and catchment areas as Golden Hills in the area of Drumheller. But our two primary schools in Strathmore are Sacred Heart Academy, K-6, and our Holy Cross Collegiate of 7 to 12. Our enrollment is quite steady. It's maintained over the years. It has increased in our 7 to 12 school. Certainly there's an attraction to moving into our Catholic school in the 7 to 12 because of our academic results. And our utilization of the buildings we have is quite strategic. We're not at full capacity, but we are growing, which is exciting, and it's a community that is growing. Slowly but growing, and we have endeavored to make sure our buildings are maintained well, and we've used our own capital reserves to build quite a significant addition and modernization to our Holy Cross Collegiate School with a band room and a new chapel this year, and completely renovated the old elementary gym in Sacred Heart Academy, so it's now a fully functional gym that had previously shared with a music room, which you could imagine would not be a very good sharing of space. So Sacred Heart Academy, as Harry mentioned, it's going to be celebrating its 25th anniversary coming up this year. Our division actually it's our 30th anniversary. I don't expect any plaques or awards for that, but we're fairly young school division, but Strathmore has existed within our division for quite some time. And then just a few years later, Holy Cross Collegiate opened up. And again, that's their shared facility with two distinct sides of the schools. So getting into our results for our elementary school, Sacred Heart Academy, this is just actually quite a joyful thing to share for both of our schools. I know it's very difficult to see, but if you started to look at the results for these schools, there's so many noteworthy results, really hard to choose which to highlight. The assurance scores we have in survey results really ranges from 93 to 98.7% of satisfaction rates, and that's well above provincial. So our families, our teachers, our students themselves are saying how much they enjoy and appreciate what is being offered within the schools. And then that's just compounded by our provincial achievement test scores, which again, you can see are well above provincial as well, both in the level of acceptable and the excellent scores. So very strong achievement, very intentional academic focus in that school. And that would just carry over into Holy Cross Collegiate. There we go. And you can see these scores are also very strong. Again, we're looking at assurance measures from grade 7 to 12, where sometimes apathy sets in a little bit with parents and parental involvement, student themselves responding to surveys, but they're still saying that this is a place that they really feel very cared for, that they have access to a tremendous amount of supports. And then again, just like jumping all the way over to the completion rate, every single one of our students at Holy Cross Collegiate graduate. And that's pretty significant when you think about their next steps into their future, and that's well above province. And this is just for a beautiful picture of the Badlands. That's our school in Drumheller. Won't get into too much detail on that one, but again, it's one of our communities that was mentioned by Harry. And again, very strong results there as well. Just having a little bit of trouble. There we go. Okay, and that takes us to the end of our presentation. Before I turn over to Harry, I just want to share that, as I have in the last 2 years gotten to know all of our different communities within Christ the Redeemer, they're all very different. And what I can say about our schools in Strathmore is that they have learning down to a science. They know how to make sure students are successful. Every student in that school is known and loved as a learner and a human being. And that just breeds such deep-rooted success. And I think that's really the story of Christ the Redeemer. And we do so within our faith, which is a beautiful witness that we give our students as well. So I'll pass it over here. Just give some concluding comments. Go.
Yeah, I guess so. The other, it's not an ask, but it just a hope, I guess, at this point. I know that you've been looking at the West Creek area structure plans. You're looking at the MDP. So we would just hope that we would be part of those conversations and discussions. And especially when it's looking at the potential for new school sites in hopefully some of the existing area structure plans and then some of the new area structure plans that might come forward, so that as the communities grow, kids will come in, that there are places, that we can have a school for those kids.
Thank you very much, and I think with the new growth that's about to hit Strathmore in the next 3 to 5 years, that's going to be something that's on the radar of our administration and our planning department as well. And with your experience with the town of Strathmore, you're very aware of how these things work. I'll go to Councillor Peterson and then Councillor Wiley.
He was actually first, Your Worship. I don't know why it's reversed here. Yeah, all right. Okay, I can go. So Harry, just relevant to that, do you have a projection for when you might need your next school? And if so, would it be in elementary or Division 3, 4? Do you have any idea?
Like, I don't think that we've actually talked specifically about that. My guess would probably be most likely a K-9, but it would be dependent upon the size of the parcel and the nature of the growth that occurs and, where those kids are coming from.
So so if you were to do a K-9, which is kind of the trend in the province recently, what type of, what amount of land are you looking at this point?
So typically, we'd be looking at about 12 acres.
12 acres, yeah.
Yeah. And we were alongside Golden Hills in the discussions with developers at West Creek and Westerbrook, thank you. And they were able to, quickly sort of ascertain that they believed within the next 10 to 20 years that there would be that development, which I'm sure you're aware of. And we had basically said within that, we would ask for a K-9 to be set aside for Christ Redeemer.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
My second question is, did the construction and opening of the new church enhance or grow your population at this point? Can you say whether or not that is the case?
Like, I would say definitely within the church itself, huge, probably close to, I would guess, double, what previous attendance was. As far as the schools, I know that the schools now utilize the church, because of its proximity. And Father Cristino has moved Mass on Wednesdays to 12 o'clock to encourage kids, and they will. I was there today, and we had a number of kids and teachers, come for Mass at noon hour.
Thank you. Your Worship, I have 2 more questions, but somebody else should have a turn.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Wiley. And just before we go, since you're here, I know it's an HR situation. How's Mr. Wiley doing? Is he doing okay? I'm just kidding.
I was going to pretend I didn't know them.
Councillor Wiley.
Yeah, I was going to say, hey, strangers. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for promoting our Catholic schools. Thank you for promoting our academic successes and student flourishing. Just specifically in regards to, you mentioned you've been talking to Westerkirk. Is that Strathmore West? Is that the same development?
Yes.
And then Strathmore West is also.
That's the one that we were referring to.
Okay, so yeah, that was specifically my question. So you've been talking to Strathmore West, and that development, they're aiming for about 10,000 people in that development. And it looks to me like 5 or 6 neighborhoods. And so they've penciled you in.
That's right.
Okay.
So just if you want to just take round numbers, like from the 2021 survey, or pardon me, the 2021 census, I think we were, like Strathmore was in the neighborhood of 20 to 22% of school-age children, but that doesn't include any kids coming in from the county, so you have to add those on top. So that would be, say, ballparkish, at least 2,200 kids. So we're looking at probably 3 to 4 schools, which I think the MDP right now shows. I'm not sure that they're looking at that in the same light, though.
Thank you, Councillor Wiley. Deputy Mayor Mitzner, you had a question or a comment?
I'm just going to throw this out here. With your location right now and a estimated 8 to 10 year proposed date for new construction, would you have any appetite for our existing fire hall if we move our fire hall?
Oh, to take the hall?
To give you more
thought
space
you-
for kindergarten or
You're not asking for our students to man the trucks or anything like that?
join the fire department, yeah.
We'd always be open to the conversation.
And if I might, I think one of the pieces that, you know, when there's new development, you know, as we see it forming around into Strathmore, as Strathmore grows, some of the benefit is being in those neighborhoods, in those communities, because we know that, especially for little ones, they don't want to have to travel if they can be within their community and go to school. So that would be sort of a draw for what we would desire for in the future, is to be in the community where our students are living. However, if we do get into a space crunch, as Harry said, we'd be open to a conversation. We're very creative.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Peterson.
So the other thing I wanted to ask is, you know, in terms of having taken over that school and knowing, having worked in that building and knowing its limitations, what gaps do you have or do you see in your current building that could be addressed in partnership in the future or sought after, you know, in terms of creating that ultimate learning service delivery that every school desires?
Can you expand on what you mean by gaps?
So I'm thinking about if you, in the fullness of curriculum, are there things that you see as being desirable in a future program at that site that you currently don't have?
Yeah, I think, you know, of course, we're grateful to have the buildings, and we've cared for them and added on to them, and our teachers do a great job using the space that's there. But it is, you know, it does have limitations in the programs we offer. So when you compare that to, you know, other schools that might have more CTS options, more trades programming, more culinary spaces that can, you know, provide a commercial kitchen experience, those are gaps where when we talk to our students and our parents about programming and programming options, they would state that that's a deficit for our school. So again, there's a lot of creativity, there's great programming that happens, there's a lot of intentional trying to seek those opportunities for students, but when you don't have the space for it, that's where.
So I guess my question is, you know, would you be open to community-based partnership that would address those gaps? And I'm thinking, for instance, sitting in our gallery tonight as the Happy Gang, you heard them present. They have a really robust group in a lovely area, and you know, they have capacity. In the past, they've run community kitchen supports things, and with the service mindfulness of faith-based education, I'm thinking of those kinds of things. And you know, if there was opportunity for our cultural community-based group that Councillor Langmaid sits on to work in partnership and bring those kinds of things forward, if you would be open to that in the future, because it would be an enhancement to the entire community at that point.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the benefits as we, when we're looking at smaller communities, is how can we create a multi-services site that can benefit partners in the community. It can be seniors, it can be daycare, it can be theater, it could be library. So all of those services, you know, we're open to those discussions. And I think the more we can partner in this, there's efficiencies, but there's also huge benefits
Well,
to
it's
social
tremendously
services.
advantageous to have a K-12 school in our downtown. And you know, I'm particularly, you know, Jesus looks out over our yard, you know, which my husband said is really critical to, as a reminder for myself. But I just do see it as a really huge benefit to the downtown. My last question, you know, as a faith-based organization and someone who's, you know, clearly understood in this community and beyond through the results that you presented today, a place of desirability. And I spend a lot of time working with Indigenous group, and they are extremely desirous of having capacity to be able to have their children somehow find purchase within a faith-based education. And I know that we have a lot of partnership with Siksika through our municipality, and that would, you know, be something, I guess, that I would wonder if Christ the Redeemer is looking to enhance into the future.
Yes, and I did reach out to the superintendent of Siksika Nation School Authority and offered that conversation and pathway, and just also recognizing there's, there's a lot of layers of complexity that he is managing. But I did leave with him that we'd be open to establishing an education service agreement if that should be
That's really
desirous.
encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Thank you.
if that conversation needs to continue, we're more than willing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. My other question was kind of addressed when Harry talked about projections in the MDP as far as into the future. My only other question is, I wonder if you could just summarize some of the renovations that happened at the school so that people at home who saw all the construction but didn't know what was added to the school, if you wouldn't mind just summing up what was added to the school, what additions you had in that recent renovation.
Just this past one, this last year and a half. So basically on the east side of the building facing Lakeside Boulevard is where we added on to the building itself and renovate, or actually, I guess, recreated a chapel and a band room. And our band room just came back from a number of competitions where they got superior ratings. So that component of our school is phenomenal. And then the other element was the existence of the old gym. We had taken a portion of that and turned it into a band room just to give those kids a space to be able to work. But it became untenable, with either the noise from the gym in competition with the trying to maintain a band program or vice versa, trying to maintain a band program while you're trying to, instruct little kids, within the elementary gym area. So those are the two main components that were done this last construction.
Thank you for that. That's good for me to know too, and good for the public at home, even the media who are covering tonight's meeting, that they know, what was built in that school. Any other questions or comments from our council?
I can just tell you that we have such a tremendous staff and repertoire of teachers, and Brent is one of the ones that I would hold out in front of everybody, so.
Thank you. I'm very relieved to hear that.
I'm also campaigning right now, Harry, so thank you.
So you've helped in an indirect way. So if there are no further questions or comments, thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your ability to answer the questions. And we look forward to the future growth and expansion of Christ the Redeemer schools in Strathmore as the town grows.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. We appreciate it greatly. And if you ever have questions, you can always phone, or you can phone Andrea, I'm sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. And just for the folks from the Happy Gang, at any time, feel free to exit. You don't have to worry about being here. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. We move now to item 6, item 6, confirmation of minutes. 6.1, committee of the whole meeting minutes for May 14th, 2025. Councillor Montgomery.
Oh, I beat you. Thank you. I will move that council adopt the May 14, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes as presented in attachment 1.
Thank you. You've all heard that motion. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. We move now to item 7, business. Oh, did you have a question, Yvonne? Oh, sure. You could leave that with Jonathan, Yvonne, if that would be okay. Perfect. Thank you, Yvonne. We move now to 7, business. 7.1, Winter Road Pathway and Sidewalk Maintenance Policy number 3203. Donna, good evening and welcome, and nice to see you again.
Good
when
evening,
there's
Your
no
Worship and
winter
Council.
situations to deal with.
Yes. Next slide. Next slide, Claudette. So, no, I didn't. Actually, that was on one of my walks through Dino Hill last year, actually, and I love that picture. This is the second time I've used it in the snow report, so I obviously really like it, and no photoshopping at all. So, as we move into the warm, smoky summer months, winter may feel like a distant memory for many. However, for the operations team, winter and snow are never far from our minds. We are continually analyzing, planning, and preparing for the upcoming winter season to ensure we remain ready to respond effectively when it returns. So some highlights from the policy. Plowing commences when accumulations reach 5 centimeters. Snow removal on priority routes occurs when driving lanes are reduced by 50% or the snow storage location exceeds 100 centimeters, which is approximately 3 feet. Removal on non-priority routes occurs only in extreme conditions when street snow storage exceeds 100 centimeters, impedes storm drainage, or directed under an extreme winter event, for example, in 2020. And ice control occurs after plowing. So our priority 1 routes are to be plowed and have ice control 24 hours after the conclusion of a snow event. Priority 2s are 48 hours after the snow event is concluded, and priority 3s are 72 hours after the snow event is concluded. So we continuously monitor weather conditions to ensure timely and effective road maintenance. Based on the forecast, we may apply calcium to pre-wet the roads in advance of the snow event. This pre-treatment improves the adherence of sand, enhances ice melting, and helps prevent ice from bonding to the road surface, making snow maintenance more efficient. When a snow event is triggered, our initial priority is to clear the travel lanes on the priority routes and clear town-owned parking lots. Snow plowing and sanding operations continue throughout the duration of the event. Once the event concludes, we shift to maintenance and cleanup operations. These include removing any bonded ice, clearing intersections, widening roadways where feasible, so example Centennial and Brent, address snow accumulation around concrete islands on George Freeman and Kleiber Trail and others that intersect with Highway 1, and clearing crosswalks and handicap approaches and the parking spots, the handicap parking spots downtown. We also perform windrow maintenance at community mailboxes located on the priority routes. We remove snow piles from the parking lots and apply additional sanding where necessary to ensure safe travel conditions. We then proceed into residential neighborhoods where we focus on sanding residential intersections, perform rut maintenance and alley maintenance. On the residential roads, we use the new icebreaker loader attachment, which we have found to be quite effective. Unfortunately, there was a manufacturer defect in the icebreaker, so I had to have it repaired. It was under warranty, but it will be back in service this year. We found that icebreaker was really great at breaking up the ice and aerating, which promoted a faster melt and easier travel conditions. Next slide. So this is our operations team. Public Works has 1 supervisor, 1 lead hand, and 5 operators. Parks has 1 supervisor, 1 lead hand, and 3 operators. And since I have your ear, I'm going to take an opportunity to toot our horns a little bit here. So as you can see, we are a small but highly dedicated team. Each member of this group is reliable, skilled, and deeply committed to their work. As I've mentioned in previous snow reports, this team truly embodies the spirit of Public Works. They consistently prioritize the needs of the community by enhancing the quality of life for all residents. Whether it's early mornings, late nights, weekends, or holidays, they are always working behind the scenes to ensure our roads, sidewalks, and pathways remain safe and accessible throughout the winter. While we operate with distinct teams, collaboration is central to our success. When a team member requires time off for personal reasons or scheduled vacations, the rest of the crew steps up. Supervisors and team leads will often take on equipment operation duties while continuing to manage the quality control and respond to resident concerns. Although snow response is the key focus during the winter months, it is by no means our only responsibility. Our team also manages a variety of essential services, including preparing for burials, deploying waste collection carts to new residents, repairing and replacing damaged carts, maintaining traffic signing, and addressing drainage issues by inspecting and clearing catch basins and overland drainage corridors. Once initial snow clearing is complete on pathways and town-owned sidewalks, our parks team conducts ice control and widens pathways by pushing back windrows. They perform safety checks on community ice surfaces at Kinsman and Strathmore Lakes. They also create the skating surfaces and manage the signage for those lakes. They create and maintain the ice at the outdoor rink. They inspect the toboggan hills for safety issues. They do playground inspections. They perform garbage run And when time allows, we prune trees. And although it generally happens before snow falls, an honorable mention goes to the installation of the Christmas lights, decorations, and the community Christmas tree outside of the SMB. Additionally, all staff contribute to the maintenance of vehicles and equipment and support the annual Santa Claus Parade. So a few statistics. Between November 24th and April 21st, 2025, we received 116 centimeters of snow spread across 24 days, which resulted in 49 days of an operational response. If snow accumulation were the sole trigger for action, only 3 days, November 18th, 22nd, and 23rd, would have met the criteria for a response. However, as outlined in our policy and by Mother Nature, snow events are rarely straightforward. Snow does not fall uniformly. It is accompanied by drifting, blowing snow, and the formation of black ice. And in some cases, the snow is started as rain, all of which necessitate a response to maintain public safety and roadway accessibility. It is also worth noting that this was a below-average snow season, consistent with a trend we're observing over the last several years. In the winter months, what we've noticed is our significant snowfall events are happening in November. So we have a total of 77.71 kilometers of paved road. Gravel roads, we have 41.42 kilometers, and projected future roads are 1.56 kilometers. This is a total of 119.13 kilometers, and I will also just remind you from the last snow report I had done with you that there are 1,206 driveways that are impacted on the snow routes. Next slide. So our road snow budget. We allocate $575,000 to snow activities, which is approximately 15% of the roads budget. This includes wages, overtime, on-call, pickle mix and calcium, contracted services. And so far, the total for this snow season is $375,241.74. And I just want to point out, I know I could have rounded up these numbers, but I just want to demonstrate that we actually track this to the penny. So just wanted to point that out. So the annual roads budget is approximately $4 million. The majority of this budget is allocated to essential maintenance and infrastructure work, including asphalt repairs, such as potholes, emergency road repairs from water line breaks, crack sealing, and parking lot repairs, plus sidewalk repairs and replacements, structural repairs such as fence maintenance, line painting and roadway markings, traffic signal maintenance and repairs, gravel road upkeep, including gravel and calcium, and infrastructure inspections such as bridges, stormwater systems, and other related assets. Any surplus remaining at the end of the year is transferred into reserves with regards to snow, and there is currently $110,296 in the reserves. So our priority routes, we have 50.4 kilometers of priority routes. Next slide. So priority route snow, and this is cost per kilometers. So this snow season, plowing and sanding costs were $250,000.47. That works out to a cost of about $4,981.10 per kilometer. The cost per kilometer includes equipment, labor, and materials. It is important to note that these figures are slightly conservative as our tracking system does not yet account for overtime and on-call costs. We are currently working with our CityWorks team to address this, though we don't anticipate significant changes to the cost estimates once those adjustments are made, as we do manage overtime by adjusting hours and stuff like that. So I've reviewed some data from other municipalities, and the figures do vary widely with regards to cost per kilometer. So in 2012, Medicine Hat was about $9,317 per kilometer. Banff in 2014 was about $23,000 per kilometer. Saskatoon was around $3,287 per kilometer. And then just researching through the Municipal Benchmarking Network of Canada, the average is around $4,800 per kilometer. So while our costs may appear slightly above average, it is important to recognize that our service level includes snow and ice maintenance on residential roads and alleys, an area of service that many other municipalities do not cover. So we budget for 2 to 3 priority snow removals each year. So total of 116 centimeters of snow from November to April, as I mentioned, and most of that snow fell from November 18th to the 23rd for a total of 76 centimeters. We did do a removal on the priority routes from November 27th to 29th, even though we did not meet the threshold for a removal. We also did 1 partial removal on a non-priority route in December for drainage, and we also did 4 removals from November, downtown removals from November to April. So it's also important to recognize that snow removal involves more than just the physical act of removing the snow. The process also includes the placement of hundreds of no parking signs to facilitate efficient removal operations, as well as a dedicated operator to manage the snow dump site. I'm really realizing that this is not the best PowerPoint. It looks like I typed it on an old typewriter. So snow removal cost. So a priority removal, the cost was $84,925, which works out to be about $1,753 per kilometers. Our downtown removal total so far is $21,576, with a total cost of $2,738 per kilometer. So the priority route snow removal costs do not include the downtown, as the downtown does have the parameter, a different parameter for removals. And downtown has a total of 1.97 kilometers, which equals to about 48.43 in priority route removals. The priority removals are done by internal staff and contracted services. The downtown removals are done overnight and with contracted services, with the exception to the placement of the no parking signs, which is done by internal staff. So if we plowed and sanded every paved road, because I think you guys get this question from time to time of why we don't do every road. So if we plowed and sanded every paved road to the same standard as the current priority rates based on this snow season, this would cost around $387.81, sorry. This would increase the snow budget at the current budget of $137,000, which would be approximately a 0.8% of a tax increase. Snow removal cost per kilometer is $1,753.50.
Sorry, Donna. We
Yes.
just have, I think there's one question on the last. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Councillor Wiley?
That actually seems low to me. Surely that wouldn't count the increased cost of equipment to accommodate almost 50% more roads.
So that we would have to analyze. Like, this is just based on what we currently have right now.
Yeah, this assumes all the same equipment
Exactly.
as well as
Yes.
same staff.
Correct. If we did every single road, that would definitely would require
Yeah,
further
it
analysis.
doesn't count wear and tear on the equipment, maintenance on the equipment, everything. Yeah.
No, this is just
yeah.
based on this right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
CAO Scoble?
Thank you. Just a comment. So I think Donna mentioned earlier, this was a below average season as well. So budgeting, the number would be higher than that, probably.
Yeah, so this is
Correct.
based on this last snow season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if
so-
you had a heavier winter with 6 events, then that would up what it would do to the taxes and up what it would cost.
Yes, if we were doing every road. Yes.
Perfect, thank you. That's good to know. Carry on.
Sorry, I think you need to go back one, yeah, perfect. Okay. So snow removal cost per kilometer is $1,753. If we remove snow from every paved surface with the current parameters in the snow policy, we would add an additional 29.28 kilometers of roadway requiring removal. And based on our current budgeting forecast of 2 to 3 removals each year, this would add approximately $52,000 to $103,000 to the budget, which would be approximately between 0.3 and 0.6 of a tax increase. And then, as we've mentioned a few times here, it has been a lower than average snow season. We're trending in that direction right now. Should future seasons bring higher snowfall and increased response demands, the associated costs and therefore potential budget impact would be greater. And of course, we will continue to analyze that. So So our costs and services are also reasonable and comparable with the Municipal Benchmarking Network of Canada, which measures performance and costs with participating municipalities. The current service levels are being met and often exceeded based on the current snow policy. And operations continues to meet other service levels while still meeting the snow policy service levels. So in conclusion, council can offer enhanced snow maintenance and removal with the understanding that it does come with an increase to tax rates. I know that you were asked in particular to include Park Lane Way in the priority routes, I believe, was Park Lane Way. And I would say at this time not to include it in the priority rates. And the reason I say that is because when we move into the residential street operations, Park Lane Way is already one of the first roads that we go into and open up those driving lanes. I would suggest that we maybe revisit it when the apartments go in at the end of the road there, and we can revisit that at that time and see if there's a greater need to do that. What I would suggest considering, but again comes with impacts to costs, is if you were to add anything to the priority schedule, I'd start looking at Strathaven, as it's all overland drainage, and it's a challenging network sometimes to maintain because everything has to drain over land. And then if people that live on those drainage corridors shovel their snow into it, then we've got blockages there and stuff like that. So when I said that we did a removal on a non-priority route, it was on Strathaven Crescent because there is a major amount of water that has to go through the alleys, the roadways, and then out into George Freeman ditches. So that's one thing I would.
Donna, do you know what the cost of that would be for like a season like we had if you added Strathaven to the
I'd have to
priority
do
route?
a cost analysis on
But it
that.
would be pretty expensive?
It could be, possibly. I mean, I think like our equipment supply is good right now. It's people that we really would have to consider. The other thing I would also suggest is that we actually officially add our gravel road network onto the snow policy. We're treating it already as a priority 3. I think we maybe just making that official that we actually added onto the snow policy. And again, for consideration, maybe think about snow routes. There's some challenging streets that we have to do maintenance on, which is Center Street, Cambridge Glen Drive, Waddy Lane. If you did decide to include Strathaven into the snow policy, that would be another one I'd maybe consider declaring snow routes. So any additions to those service levels would, again, have impacts on staffing requirements. We are already in need of operators. Like that list I gave you is just our winter list. Like it's a go, 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 where we don't have a lot of downtime. And maybe a consideration of park staff as well. The other thing we would also need to consider is our snow dump capacity. The snow dump is effective, but if we start adding more snow to it, we would have to look at a larger snow dump. And then also the other thing is a lot of the private contractors that haul snow have also reached out to us and asking if they could dump their snow there as well. And then the other thing to consider is the public expectations. So if you increase the service levels, it could also increase citizen complaints with regards to windrows and their expectations to remove those windrows.
Thank you, Donna, and thank you for your presentation. Councillor Wiley and then Councillor Montgomery.
I have a question for administration. When would be an appropriate time then to make a motion to add Strathaven Crescent, Park Lane, and gravel as a priority route?
Thank you, Worship Council. So today is just a committee of the whole. So council can have that conversation today about wanting to add that. And when the policy comes back to council in a future meeting, that's when that could be included into the policy at that point. So I think what administration would need today though is just some direction from council if you would like that added. Otherwise, the policy would probably be brought to council as is, and then council would have to make that motion to amend it during that meeting.
How closely tied to the budget season would that need to come in? Like, would they-
Very close, I would
Yeah.
say, because adding more streets we need more people. So I would be requesting that in budget.
Okay, which occurs earlier this year because of the election and a new council?
Changes, would we not be?
Yep. Through the chair, that's exactly like late August is when like the draft budget will be ready for senior leadership review before taking to council. So similar timelines for that, I suppose. Yep.
Changes the service levels within it, then we would build the budget accordingly.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back to Councillor Wiley.
Yeah, just in my 4 years here, this is the first time Dawn and the operations team has asked for an increase in service. I take that seriously. So I would be very interested. I know she said probably not Park Lane, but I heard those residents loud and clear. I'd be very interested in adding that, as well as the places in Strathaven that Donna outlined. I think that's important. I've driven those roads in Strathaven. I would say they're among the worst. That's probably the most critical spot in Strathmore. And if something like the gravel is a priority route, if something we're already doing, like I trust again the operations. So I guess what I'd be interested in is hearing when this comes before council again, just hearing like some cost estimates so that we can get into the nitty gritty and make sure we're making a good choice with this.
Thank you. Councillor Montgomery and then Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Donna, for your presentation. Oh, and thank you very much for adding the goat trail by Kinsman there, because it's definitely well used, and so I think people appreciate that. One question I have has to do with something Kevin and I discussed with you about sandboxes, putting sandboxes around town.
Right, I think that's something we'll build in the budget. I've talked with Donna about it. Some communities use community sandboxes, so, you know, I would guess in Strathmore there'd be 6 to 8 deployed, and residents can come and get sand from them regularly for their sidewalks or what have you. Yeah, that's something Donna and I have discussed, and we'll be building that into the budget for next year.
Yeah, so I'd be interested
Sorry,
in
can I
seeing
just
that.
ask you one question about that? Just maybe something to consider. I know that if it again has operational impacts by making sure the sandboxes are filled, but maybe we could also do a day where they come and get sand from Public Works as well. Might be an option too.
Yeah, even if like, yeah, I guess if we could maybe cost out both, just so that, you know, at least we know what we're refusing if we kind of decide not to go with that. So I've been made aware about, you know, some kind of problem issues around town, obviously, and one issue that's kind of come up is just kind of safety for people crossing the roads and you know, specifically seniors crossing the road and slipping and falling and stuff like that. And so I know that we as a organization take that very seriously. We are bound, I'll say we're bound by kind of our standards that, you know, basically we can't, as you mentioned, you know, we can't kind of just kind of say, okay, we're going to add this here, you know, we're going to add this here, unless there's some sort of standard that, you know, like it makes it fair, like, you know, for us to apply it that way. And then the other issue that and so I guess, yeah, so the second issue, I guess, is just kind of, you know, it's kind of related to the first, and that is just kind of some people feel that they're not getting what they would consider to be adequate or satisfactory snow management. And so I guess I'll jump over to the Strathaven first of all, and so stop me if I'm not supposed to say this, but so when Strathaven was built, it was built, as you mentioned, without storm sewer systems, and yeah, and my understanding is that allowed the developer to essentially sell the houses for kind of cheaper in that area. But the problem is now we as a town and, you know, as a community are essentially having to now pay higher costs as a result to kind of manage what, you know, should have been done, I'll call it properly back then. So I struggle with the idea of just adding Strathaven to, you know, as a higher priority, you know, to kind of make up for what was a mistake of, you know, I'll say administration of the past and a developer who wasn't kind of, you know, doing things the way I think they should have been done. And so that kind of ties into what I'm going to say now, and that is that, you know, so we all know that there are some residents around town who are not satisfied with the management they're getting. And I would at least, and so I think it's great that you've costed out kind of roughly what it costs to manage snow, you know, on a basis like that. And so what I would like to be able to do is, you know, and I would want it so that we cover whatever costs we're incurring, of course, you know, plus. I would like to be able to offer at least the ability for people to purchase enhanced service from the town. You know, so if there is a street, especially if it's one, like, you know, and if the residents, even if it's one resident who says, you know what, I'm willing to pay the extra $6,000 a year to get, you know, my street plowed, or if they can get everybody else, you know, whatever. But it's if as long as like somebody on that street is willing to kind of pony up the money, I would at least, because, you know, it's like in my mind, you know, we either should be facilitating them being able to access, you know, a private company, which there's obviously problems with, you know, indemnification and stuff like that. But then on the other hand, it's like if you know, failing that, you know, can we at least offer them enhanced services, but, you know, with the understanding that they are, you know, going to pay for that plus, you know, whatever extra, you know. So I would appreciate if we could at least kind of go down that road and see what it looks like. And I recognize that, you know, I kind of thought, like, is that fair to residents who can't pay for enhanced service? And I almost look at it like, you know, there's some residents that can't afford to host a birthday party at the pool, for example. You know, does that mean we don't allow anybody to have a birthday at the pool? No, you know, it's one of those things, right, where it's just a fact, kind of. So I think at least if we're offering that, then, you know, it's up to the resident to kind of say, okay, well, yeah, let's kind of, you know, it's like either they just accept what they have now, or they say, okay, I'm willing to actually kind of pay more, kind of thing. And I like, you know, I know that you've kind of recommended against it, but I would appreciate as well with Councillor Wiley, you know, if we could at least look at the cost of doing Park Lane, and if it's not kind of too out of the way or whatever. And then that's it for me. But yeah, thank you very much for this.
Thank you. And if I could just follow up about Strathaven, I agree with Councillor Wiley. I think I understand that there were differences in how it was developed in the mid to late 90s. But I think now we have a situation where that area with snow, freeze, thaw, freeze, it's without proper drainage. It's a really dangerous area, and it is a problem for its residents. So I would hesitate to remove Strathaven from anything that we might enhance as far as your recommendations. CAO Scoble, and then Councillor Deputy Mayor.
I would just
Mitzner.
comment, you know, if council decides to do enhanced service in Strathaven, to keep in mind, it might actually be a term thing. So you would know better than I, but that area is 25, 30 years old now. So it will be coming to the point where you have to, probably in the next 15 years, replace the water pipes and the sewer pipes. At that time, you know, if the council of the day approved it, you could actually install the storm pipes like they were supposed to be originally installed. So anything you consider in Strathaven, I would look at it as a term thing for the next 10 to 20 years. And they're, like I said, the council of that day can decide if they want to spend the capital to fix it up the way it should have been built.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
Okay, can you give me a brief update, please, on Spruce Park? I received a lot of complaints from business owners there indicating, like when WID put the culverts in, some of them are plugged, some of them don't flow. So when there is a melt, there's tons of pooling there.
We have, well, actually through the infrastructure team, has done inspections on all of our storm drainage. There is some pooling in some of the ditches in there, but nothing that is going to cause property damage. We've spoken to several business owners ourselves that they will be addressed. It's as we can, though. We are constantly inspecting those as well, just to make sure that they're not actually filling up And I have yet to see one fill up that it would actually cause property damage.
Okay, sounds good. And my second question, because I appreciate your knowledge and expertise, is when you say need more people, that would also take into consideration contract versus town hiring more people, right?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Montgomery, for your questions and comments. Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Your Worship. First, let me just extend my sincere thanks to you and your crews, especially the ones that do the pathways. Special shout out to them. I often see them on the pathway behind my house while I'm still drinking coffee in the morning. And I recognize that it takes a special type of person to be able to get up that early when it's that dark and that cold to go out and do that type of work. And I appreciate them every time I hear the little beep, beep, beep behind my house. Like, oh, that's someone who's got a lot more energy and gumption than I do in the mornings. One concern that's been brought to me in terms of snow removal in town and is, I know we've all heard the concerns around windrows and driveways and things like that, but this is more specific to windrows that end up on crosswalks. And in that we have very clear crosswalk in the middle of the road, and we have residents that have a very nicely cleared sidewalk, but then there ends up being a hump of snow at the beginning and the end of the crosswalks that make it really hard for the elderly and people in wheelchairs or mobility scooters or someone just pushing a pram to actually get across the street. So one item that I would appreciate seeing some numbers on, and obviously it couldn't be every crosswalk in town. That is, I want to make sure that that's not my expectation. But some key crosswalks in town, you know, along Thomas Drive, Brent Boulevard, downtown, these kind of areas where there's high pedestrian traffic. If we could get some numbers on what it would look like just to do targeted snow removal or just part the seas across those crosswalks to help just create that path and that connectivity for people so that they can get around town a little bit easier. And I would leave the decision of which crosswalks would be prioritized to you, because I am not an expert in that area, but it would be something that I'd be interested to see the numbers on, just to help people get around town easier. Thank you so much.
I will add that we do our best to clean up on our priority routes. And what I would encourage people is, if we have missed something, to send in a CCF, call operations. When I say about, we are always looking at our quality control. If we're missing things, tell us. If sometimes we don't see it, somebody will bypass it, mistakes happen, just absolutely report it so we can actually go mitigate it.
For sure, I'll continue to direct residents to do that. It would just be nice if maybe we could identify a few priority ones that we know all of these will be on the list and be done. Thank you again for all that you do in the community. I know it's tough work in the wintertime.
Thank you, Councillor Langmaid. Just before I turn to Deputy Mayor Mitzner, question for either Donna or CAO Scoble. I know not everyone in the town delves deeply into what are priority 1, 2, and 3, and I sometimes get a couple of emails or questions about, well, the school bus drives the road, so surely it's a priority road. Could you, either one of you, make a comment on the bus routes and how they apply to, they don't necessarily match up with priority 1 routes?
They don't, and I can tell you why. So we have actually requested the school bus maps from the school divisions. We've only received one. So when we are looking at the priority routes, we actually do take the bus routes into consideration, but when we don't have all the stops, I don't follow the buses. I'm sorry, I don't have children either that take the bus, so I don't know where they all are. So we're still working on trying to get the maps from the other school division, which we can absolutely look into and see if some of those need to be added. But right now, they're not all on the priority routes, I can tell you that for sure.
Thank you for that. Deputy Mayor Mitzner and then Councillor Wiley.
When do we do our Snow Angel campaign?
All winter. And this year, we actually worked on getting a Snow Angel map. So Mark would probably be able to talk about when that actually starts, but I was really impressed. We got a map where it shows all the locations for the Snow Angel signage that anybody could go on and look at and go remove snow.
But can we like recruit new people, do a campaign, I mean additional people, not new people, and start like the middle of October when everybody's like, wow, I can do that before we get into a heavy snowfall? And they're like, no, I don't want to do that.
It's a volunteer-based program, too.
Yes, through the chair, Councillor Mitzner, the Snow Angel program is ongoing, the recruitment of that. Most of our communications to the general public is through our website, and as Donna indicated, with the help of our GIS team, we've been able to update and make it more interactive, so that if you're requesting a Snow Angel, you can find out where those places are as opposed to looking, excuse me, specifically for a sign. Recruitment is still challenging for us at best. Obviously, you need to find a special person that has the time to volunteer, but our recruitment campaign is pretty much ongoing. And when snow flies, that's when everybody starts to remember that snow needs to be cleared from various sidewalks. So we try to activate that, and it's something we can definitely work with our comms team to try to improve for next year.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Mark. Councillor Wiley.
My comments just for the people at home. Our operations manager, Donna, referred to something called the CCF. It's the communications or citizen communication form. It's available online, and I just know from experience that when citizens use it, Donna's team responds. They are very diligent. I have received much feedback from community. Just thank me for the quickness of those. So use them. They're very effective. And if you don't use them, just email me and I will fill it out for you.
Thank you. Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I wanted to give, I had one further question and then one shout out. So my further question is, just on the slide you had here for roads, you have future projected roads for Strathmore Lakes Estates, Lakewood, and the Ranch. Does that include, have we considered the roads going in with the new, the West Creek development? North there's some kind of more major roads going in there, and then does that include eventually we're going to finish off the Wildflower Road. Is that one already included in our list, or would that be a new road?
Wildflower is kind of already included in there. As far as West Creek, I don't have any projections yet from planning on the roads there. The ones that I've included are like in our near future.
Okay.
And I don't know which ones would be priorities yet. We haven't determined that out of those.
Thank you. And then just a quick shout out to Sean McCormick in town, who was kind of the town's lone snow angel and put in a lot of volunteers to help a lot of people keep their sidewalks clear this winter, and also kind of go through and ground truth some of the data that we had on who was a snow angel, who had a sign. And he was kind of an unsung hero this winter in doing that work, and I just wanted to give him a quick shout out.
Thank you for that, Councillor Langmaid. I don't think there are further questions or comments. So Donna, again, thank you for your presentation, and again, your willingness and ability to answer questions. Same with Councillor Scoble, CAO Scoble. I've been doing that for 3 years. Again, thank you for your presentation and your answers. We move now to item 8, question and answer period. Seeing and hearing none, that brings us to item 9, adjournment. So at this time, at 8:35 p.m., I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.